more time in this series starting next week, and then we'll just get right into the Word. But we're in the book of Ecclesiastes, and if you've ever read this book, it's an interesting book. It's just like what they just said. It's kind of depressing in moments. It's kind of like, what does he mean? You know, this is the words of Solomon here, one of the wisest, or apart from Jesus, the wisest man and richest man to ever walk the face of the earth. And so we've been in this book. Last week, we basically kind of concluded with the amount of control that we have over things, and one of the things that we can't control is our attitude and how we look at things and how we perceive them and how we deal with them in the moment. And so now we move on to chapter 2, which is, I think, even more interesting than chapter 1 because this deals with some other things. So life is crazy, all right? And we just basically labeled this series Crazy Life. Life is crazy. Melanie and I, we do a trip every August. We wait until the hottest part of the year, which is the end of August, and we go to New Braunfels, and we have a good time. We float the river on an inner tube. We'll typically do the Comal River on Friday, and then we'll run over to the Guadalupe River on Saturday. And if you've never been in the Guadalupe River, the water is absolutely freezing, dude. I mean, it comes out of the bottom of Canyon Lake, and the water is cold. Even in the peak of summer, the water is freezing, and that's why we go in the peak of summer, by the way. And when I was young, I could just dive in it, but now I kind of slowly take my time and go in it. But so we always do that. And so back at the beginning of May, I asked her to go ahead and set a date and plan for us to be there. And we set a date, and we booked a place that we normally stay at. It's a bed and breakfast. And then at the end of May, I get a phone call from my district manager saying they're taking over all the routes in Texas. And by the way, this is going to happen August 5th. And so no longer are we able to even go on this trip. We had to cancel our reservations. And I told Melanie, I was like, well, the 1 week before this all transitions is like 2 weeks away. Let's go ahead and plan it then. So we started planning it then, and come and find out something else came up. They were going to need me to do something else. And then I was like, well, fine, how are we going to even do this summer? And so finally we looked at Labor Day weekend, and I was like, well, it should be still hot Labor Day weekend. So 3 times we were trying to reschedule this little getaway that we normally do. And that's because life, the moment that you make a plan and everything, I mean, it's just bound to change. Things are just, and sometimes plans go through exactly like we want them to. But sometimes, and a lot of times, we have to alter what we want to do and everything else because life is just so crazy. I got a couple of questions that I want you to think about. Do you ever feel busy all the time? Okay? Anybody? Do you ever feel busy all the time? Another one. Do you ever feel like you can never catch up? All the time? You ever feel like you can never catch up? Do you ever feel like you have a problem shutting off your mind at night? Is there anybody that has that problem? No? Y'all can, okay, well, for those that are retired, y'all can sleep easy, right? But, man, sometimes it's so hard to shut my mind off at night. And do you ever feel like you're the one responsible for making sure that things are finished? You ever feel like you're the one that there's a burden that's on you to make sure that things get finished or done or whatever? So I ask you that, and then I want to ask you why. Why do you feel so busy? Since our